Okay, let's dive into this by asking a question we honestly rarely think about, at least until a sudden soggy disaster strikes. What is really going on behind your drywall? I mean, we turn on the tap, water comes out, we flush, and it all just magically goes away, right? Well, the reality is that behind your paint and plaster, there's a constant, high-stakes battle being waged between nature, geometry, and aging infrastructure. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're using a hyper-local plumbing service page for Franklin, Wisconsin as a really fascinating microcosm. By looking at how these professionals tackle regional plumbing issues, we can explore the hidden mechanics, the exact science, and the true economics of home plumbing. And the best part? This stuff applies to properties everywhere. So, we're going to map out this hidden world right now. Our agenda, the enemies of your plumbing, common culprits of catastrophe, the geometry of good plumbing, the true cost of repairs, and finally, DIY versus professional fixes. Section 1. The enemies of your plumbing. What's really fascinating here is how the environment itself is in this relentless battle with your home's infrastructure. It's not just about pipes getting old, It's about what the earth and the weather are actively doing to them. In our Franklin case study, nature is essentially acting as a supervillain in a few distinct ways. First up, you have sub-zero freeze-thaw cycles that put massive stress on water lines. Then there's the earth itself. Shifting clay-heavy soil literally places this crushing pressure on underground water mains, causing incredibly subtle damage over time. Add to that intense groundwater pressure, especially near areas like the Root River during the spring melt. And finally, running right inside the pipes themselves is hard water loaded with calcium and magnesium. This acts like a slow-motion wrecking ball. It accelerates corrosion and creates massive scale deposits inside your fixtures and water heaters. If your home was built during the housing booms of the 80s or 90s, those original galvanized steel pipes and early first-generation PVC installations, they are actively reaching the absolute end of their service life. And they don't always burst dramatically. Oftentimes, they develop these insidious hidden pinhole leaks or internal mineral buildups that slowly choke off your water pressure, and you usually don't even realize it's happening until the damage is already done. Section 2. Common culprits of catastrophe. So, when those environmental enemies win, what does that actually look like? Well, these intense pressures directly result in those midnight emergencies literally no one wants to deal with. We're talking about pipes bursting in unheated crawl spaces during winter freezes. We see premature water heater failure because that hard water sediment we talked about, it accumulates at the bottom of the tank, creating hot spots that weaken the metal until it just gives out and leaks. Underground, shifting clay soil creates cracks in older pipes, which basically invites tree roots to infiltrate and cause massive sewer blockages. And during heavy rains or spring thaws, all that groundwater pressure easily overwhelms sump pumps, leading to flooded basements and ruined belongings. It's a real mess. Section 3. The geometry of good plumbing. Now, how do plumbers actually fight back against all these forces? With an exact science. They're essentially applying physics and math to keep your house dry. Let's look at a foundational concept called the 135-degree rule. When installing horizontal drain lines that need to change direction, professional plumbers don't just use a sharp 90-degree elbow. Instead, they use two 45-degree fittings to create a much smoother 135-degree turn. This gentler angle reduces stress on the pipe joints and, most importantly, keeps waste flowing smoothly so you don't get clogs. This is absolutely critical in areas with hard water, where sediment buildup is already trying its best to restrict your flow. You might be wondering at this point, if angles matter so much, can a drain pipe ever just use a simple 90-degree elbow? I mean, it seems like it would be way easier to install, right? Well, the answer is yes, but placement is absolutely everything. It's perfectly fine to use a 90-degree elbow when you're dropping waste vertically to a horizontal line. But placing a sharp 90-degree turn on a purely horizontal run, that's a total recipe for disaster. It creates water turbulence and traps debris right at the corner. This proves that bad geometry literally causes sewer backups in your home. It's a structural constraint that requires some really precise planning to balance out drainage efficiency. And take that, anyone who told their high school geometry teacher they'd never use math in the real world. Plumbers utilize something called the 1.414 rule on the job site every single day. This is a mathematical constant derived straight from the geometry of a 45-degree right triangle. If a plumber needs to route a supply line diagonally around a floor joist or a foundation wall, they multiply the offset distance by 1.414 to find the exact length of pipe to cut. It ensures perfect accuracy for ordering materials and guarantees that pipe supports are spaced exactly right. It is literally precision engineering disguised as blue-collar work. Section 4. the true cost of repairs. So, now that we understand the deep expertise required to maneuver around joists, calculate flow rates, and outsmart the environment, let's pull back the curtain on the economics of professional tradeswork. Why does it cost what it costs? This transparent breakdown shows exactly why a local plumber typically charges between $100 and $200 an hour. You aren't just paying for the 45 minutes they spent under your sink. You're paying for their mandatory state licensing, their ongoing code education, and their commercial liability insurance. And that minimum charge, or diagnostic fee, that covers the massive overhead of keeping a fully stocked commercial truck on the road, the fuel, the drive time, and the diagnostic expertise required to ensure they're fixing the actual root cause, not just a symptom. But hey, the hourly rate is only part of the story. Professionals strongly advise budgeting an extra 20% on any estimate for hidden costs that only reveal themselves once the work actually begins. For instance, local municipalities, like Milwaukee County in our case study, require mandatory paid permits for things like water heater replacements or repiping. Plus, if your home is older, opening up a wall might reveal that a simple leak actually requires uncovering way more pipe, upgrading water main valves to meet current codes, and of course, paying for the inevitable drywall repair and fixture disposal afterward. Section 5, DIY versus professional fixes. With those professional costs laid out so clearly, it's incredibly tempting to just watch a 5-minute internet tutorial, grab a wrench, and try to fix it yourself. But choosing to DIY anything beyond a simple faucet aerator or a toilet flapper is very often a false economy. Sure, it might save you a few $100s today, but DIY plumbing regularly leads to severe code violations, unpermitted work that can completely haunt you when you try to sell your house, and massive water damage if a joint fails. A professional plumber is fully insured, meaning if something goes wrong, your property is actually protected. They guarantee their work meets local code, and they handle pulling all the necessary legal permits. Here's a great example of why that expertise matters. Did you know that the Wisconsin Uniform Plumbing Code mandates a highly precise minimum slope of exactly 0.25 inches per foot for drainage pipes? Yep, a 1/4 inch. If you DIY a pipe and make it too flat, waste won't flow completely, leaving behind deposits that cause massive blockages over time. If you don't know the code, you're literally engineering your own future clogs. When you do hire a professional, the process should be incredibly structured to protect you. It generally starts with dispatch and communication, then moves to a rigorous diagnostic phase where you're given an upfront cost approval. That way you know exactly what the price is before a single wrench is even turned. Finally, there's the completion and testing phase where they verify water pressure and drainage to absolutely guarantee the fix before they ever leave your driveway. We've covered the environmental threats, the mathematical geometry required to defeat them, and the real reasons behind the costs. So, as you sit in your home right now, perhaps listening to the water run or the ice melting outside, ask yourself, knowing the invisible battles being fought in your walls right this very second, is the secret life of your plumbing secretly preparing a very expensive, unpermitted surprise for you? Definitely something to think about the next time you turn on the tap. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.